to share,
Yeah, give me a tweet to share. I'll share it.
I will. I will actually do retweet of my own post. Um, and you are tagged in this post. So if you could see, let me see.
Cool.
Uh,
Looking.
I just retweeted this just now, and there is the link to the stream.
The YouTube link.
Yeah. So they can watch it on YouTube. Not
Got
not
it.
not here. I just did some other stream with Jacob from Notional, and then you reached. So I'm doing like just stream after stream. You are now you are now in Europe. Sorry for saying that.
Yeah.
Is there any like special places where the blockchain development and a lot of things is happening? Like I'm, for example, from Poland,
Yeah.
and I never seen anything happening in Poland that much, especially regarding Cosmos ecosystem. It seems a lot of things happening in Berlin and some other places.
Yeah. I don't think there's very much Cosmos ecosystem stuff in Poland, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Poland is a wonderful place.
Have you
Uh,
been?
yeah. I've been to Warsaw. It's great. I would love to
Yeah.
go back.
Yeah. Now,
Why
now
don't
you
you
have
organize
chance.
something and then I'll come?
I'd love to. I'd love to. The guy from Consensus One, he runs a data center in Poland. So maybe with him, I could connect and actually do some event in Warsaw, because like it is actually big city, 2 million people. I
Yeah.
believe a lot of tech savvy people as well. Quite similar
Yeah.
size to Berlin. Maybe like it's like maybe could be a little sister hub to Berlin in this term. So I think it
Yeah.
could attract some people. And the fact that it's in Europe, it's easy to travel for many people. It's like
Yeah.
8 hours flight from New York, 2 hours within Europe, everywhere.
Yeah. It's
Right.
not far
So
from, and it's not far from Berlin at all. So I'm sure people will.
yeah, you can drive few hours drive from Berlin.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that would be nothing. So anyway, I'm live with Zaki Manian. I think many people call you OG. I remember I was watching the live stream of Kobe that you follow, the very big Twitter guy.
Yeah.
He called you probably one of the best developer within the blockchain ecosystem. So how did you start it? Because I think I might have heard something that you were actually self-taught. You are
Yep.
interested in cryptography. So if you can give the introduction how you actually got into cryptography and blockchain, and finally to Cosmos.
Yeah. So what happened? So um after, okay, so like we could like sort of start the story, right? Um after look, first thing I'll always say is, look, I've been very lucky. I'm very lucky. Like my parents are very successful. My parents are very successful entrepreneurs. I've always had a lot of freedom about how to spend my time. Um, so, and I have a lot of skills that I picked up from my dad and about starting tech companies and stuff like that. So, it's not like I don't have like I have a lot of advantages in life that allow me to do all these things. But so I after college so University of Pennsylvania, didn't study computer science. Uh, just kind of knew that I would be kind of like building my own career from scratch. Went to work with my dad on various biotech things. My dad has a 40-year career in biotech. Um, and so the so along the way, I kind of decided, okay, I need to learn how to program. So I basically took, 9, 12 months and like just like really focused on learning how to program, mostly from the internet, just, various internet tutorials, watching talks, all of this different stuff, like trying to get a real understanding of it. Um, and got to the point where I was like, I'm like a reasonably competent programmer. I'm not nearly as good as many of the people who work on Cosmos. Um, but I can make a pull request. I can debug stuff. I built things. I can pair program with the devs. I've always been really good at like system architecture, understanding complex systems, debugging complex systems. That's always been kind of my strong suit. Um, Around 2012, I got real frustrated with biotechnology. It moves so slowly. Um, and I was like looking for other things to do in my life. It was kind of like a really sad 2 years of kind of like looking around. I was like hanging, I was in the Bay Area. I grew up in Palo Alto. I was back home. I was just kind of, uh, uh, exploring different emerging technologies. So I was going to meetups about space. I was going meetups about privacy. I was going to meetups about cryptocurrency. At the end of the day, I found, I got sort of sucked into this cryptocurrency community in San Francisco. Was going to meetups, but I didn't understand how anything works. Like I didn't know how cryptography works. I didn't have a background in the math. You would read these papers. They had all these terms that didn't understand. Reasoning about consensus algorithms and distributed systems. So I made friends with Jay. Back in those days, I made friends with a lot of other early crypto
What year
people.
was it?
This is 2014, late 2013, early
Mm-hmm.
2014. So I made friends, kept programming, started an enterprise blockchain company called SkewChain, started contributing with Jay on Tendermint, started, hanging out with Jay and a lot. In 2015, at the office for my startup company, we had this crypto economic group forum. People like Vitalik were there, Dominic Williams, Jay, Ethan. So Jay and Ethan met each other there. Jay came because we'd been friends, and I was like, Jay, come present your work on Tendermint. I think that was probably like one of Vitalik's like first exposures. It was definitely Vitalik's first exposure to Tendermint, and proof and like slashing and all of Jay's ideas around this. So we started working on all these things. 2015. So 27, like late 2016. I worked on the Cosmos idea with Jay and Ethan. Reviewed all the early papers and stuff like that. Um, um, the Reviewed all the early papers and whatnot. Picked up a lot of and helped develop the Cosmos idea. A lot of it was based on stuff that I had been working on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking to Vlad and Vitalik about sharded Ethereum and Ethereum 2.0 even back then. I've been talking to Dominic about what turned into Definity. I was really frustrated. I'd found Mark Miller from Agoric's work online, this amazing website called erights.org. I was like, we could plug this into Tendermint, right? Jay and Ethan came to me with saying they wanted to do a public blockchain in 2016. I was like, that sounds like a cool idea, but they had this idea called Supertanker. What I was like,
Mm-hmm.
we're missing pieces. It was like roll-ups. It was essentially like proto roll-up ideas. We resembles a lot like what Celestia looks like today. But I said we're not ready to do that. I was like, here's this idea I have about plugging Mark's ideas from within that eRights website for something called Ode into Tendermint, because Jay had this idea of on-chain light clients back then. Like the on-chain light client piece of IBC Jay had way back then, like 2014 even, really. Like Jay, I was thinking about on-chain light clients and IBC. But I had this idea about like, how would the pieces fit? Like, how would you use ideas from object capabilities to allow, tokens to be transferred safely between chains, to have like complex multi-chain protocols. So then 2017, got more and more involved in Tendermint, started coming to the retreats and stuff like that. I also put the first money into Cosmos. I was the first person to write a check for the ICF. First donation to the ICF. And then
so
like
it was pre-ICO sale.
yeah,
Still?
2016.
Okay, so you were like the first investor.
Somebody had to put up money to like hire all the lawyers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Got involved with all of that. Helped get things moving. Built, so it's 2017, 2018, like 2018, I took over the testnet program at Cosmos because nobody had ever figured out how to build quality assurance for a public BFT network. No one had the slightest idea how to do it. So that was like a new thing that like I was like excited about pioneering. And then after the success of the testnet program, went on to become essentially in charge of launch, which was basically like what features are we going to launch with, what trade-offs, like QA, like basically made the decision to launch. We were ready and launched the network. Launched the network. Helped basically organize Tendermint Series A with Paradigm. Got that was 2019. So I had told the Agoric people back in 2017, Naval and Zuko had been trying to recruit me to do Dean's job. And I told the Agoric people, I was like, hey, like, I love everything you're doing. This is going to be awesome. Well, it's not going to work if I don't ship Cosmos first. So I'll call you once Cosmos is done and let's go. So 2019, I was like, Cosmos SDK is shipped. Let's build Agoric on top of it. Let's connect Agoric to IBC. Help us make sure we get IBC right. You guys have all built all this stuff in like very similar things in your long careers. So like help us don't make mistakes. So we had this big meetup in 2019 in Berlin called Interchain Conversations. There was a conference, but before that there was almost a week of workshops with the Agoric folks where we sort of planned out IBC. Then 2019, latter half of 2019, moved a lot slower than we wanted. There was a lot of chaos inside of AIB. There's a lot of chaos coming from Jay. We get to the end of 2020. We all go on vacation, come back from vacation. Jay is spouting a bunch of sort of inane religious conspiracy stuff on Twitter. It seems to be a problem. There's a lot of conflict inside the organization. We all everyone leaves. Spend the rest of 2020, hunkered down in the pandemic, working with a team that had moved over to Interchain Berlin to ship IBC. So 2020, end of 2020, IBC is basically done, waiting for the hub upgrade. And I start working on Sommelier with Jack. And the Occlusion team and the Peggy and the what was now the Gravity Bridge team, the Althea team, get all of that, work on a lot of that stuff, get that moving, keep working on that, raise some money for that. Then 2021, help Agoric raise a lot of money, help Osmosis launches. IBC suddenly becomes everything we ever dreamed it would be. That's been very gratifying and great. Cosmos ecosystem really starts to grow in a really meaningful way. We had early signs of fit and adoption prior to IBC, but like as we had like expected, once you kind of nail IBC go to market, it really blows up. What are all the other moving pieces that kind of gets us to 2022? I'm trying to fix Atom Tokenomics and
I want to
launch
talk.
SOM. And
I will want to. Sorry.
hold on, let me finish all my things.
I'm sorry.
Launching. So like the things I focus on right now are a lot of like I'm much more involved I'm kind of back involved in a lot of Cosmos core dev again, which is exciting. Kind of hadn't been super involved in it before, or for like the last year. I am working on getting SOM and sellers out the door pretty soon, like weeks. Smart contracts just got finished being audited. I am working on launching Agoric and IST and their stablecoin, working on bringing USDC to Cosmos. I'm helping the DYDX team. I'm helping a bunch of other teams. It's been super busy working on, various other things. You name it, like, yeah, every day is like pretty insanely busy. Usually working till like 2-3 a.m. every day or these days. It's like as crazy as it was in like 2018.
Yeah, like from this introduction, you gave me more questions that I already had. I knew a lot of work that you were doing. I knew your involvement in Agoric, of course, Sommelier. I think you also help with Anoma, if I'm correct, Anoma or Nim,
Yep.
some of them. But you mentioned biotech. Is your father a scientist, or he ran
Yeah,
a
yeah. He's a
biotech company?
scientist. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
where
A
where does he
scientist. He's a
work?
businessman. Yeah.
Where does he work?
Uh, I mean, he just starts companies, man. He's like
Okay, so
70
like,
something.
yeah, is any of his biotech companies publicly traded? Is it like focus on like
He took
oncology
two. Like, I
drugs?
mean, he took two companies public in the 80s. He has a
Hmm.
Wikipedia page. You know.
All right. Do you want to share his name?
Yeah, yeah. Here.
And I wonder, as the COVID hit, um, because you must be experienced with the biotech. Were you a little bit frustrated from all the
Oh yeah, it's like
are you
insanely
getting
frustrating, man.
frustrated when there is the conspiracy theories about biotech and pharmaceuticals coming?
I mean, well, I mean, there's a lot of ways which I'm frustrated. I mean, I'm frustrated. Like, I'm frustrated by the quality of communication from like various leaders in public health.
Hmm.
Um, I'm frustrated by I'm frustrated that like it's been 10 years since I stopped doing biotech and the
Hmm.
state of the art of the technology. Um, um, uh, 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 the state of the art of the technology is is basically the same as when I left, right?
Hmm.
It's real frustrating. Um, I am frustrated. I'm certainly frustrated by conspiracy theories that are
Hmm.
illogical. But
Yeah.
I'm also frustrated that like the denial of vaccine side effects also seems to be pretty
Hmm.
unscientific.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, no, it's honestly just like a complete disaster.
Yeah, like the denial of side effects probably like increases the all the conspiracy theories, right? Because like there is some cases of myocarditis, and everyone it's like making this like so huge, but it's like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little bit of
but the virus
inflammation
itself
you got.
also causes myocarditis.
Yeah,
Um,
and people treat this as like some crazy stuff. So I'm asking because I'm not from biotech, but I do love following biotech companies. In fact, when the COVID started, I my gambling side started, and in the summer, just 6 months because before the results of the final phase of the trial, I actually invested. I bought the shares of BioNTech, which turned quite well. So like I've been
Good
like
job, man.
reading. Yeah, I've been like reading all of the data.
Those,
I
those
was like
guys, those I mean, those guys are great, but it was like a religious mission. Like, like the
Mhm,
chances of mRNA becoming a vaccine, even in their lifetimes, was like really
mhm,
low, right? Like,
mhm,
they worked on this like so hard for so long with no real reason to believe that regulators were ever going to say yes, other than the fact that like, and there's a lot of biotechnology that's like this. You like, it just like it sits on the shelf until there's a pandemic or
mhm,
or like some trial goes really extraordinarily well.
mhm. Yeah, like and the delivery of that, right? Because the most difficult part was the delivery, the particle surrounding. So that
Yeah,
was
the,
that
the
was
liquid
difficult.
lipid nanoparticles. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've been
like
talking about lipid nanoparticles, man. It seems like I don't know, 15 years.
yeah. What was your specialization within the biotech?
I don't
Um,
specialize in anything. I just do whatever needs to be done. I write code. I build stuff.
yeah.
I learn whatever I need to learn to like do the thing.
So look, I like to listen. Maybe you heard of Pharma Bro, Martin Shkreli. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
so he came out of prison and he do the live streams, and some people ask him about the blockchain, and I thought it's maybe cool to ask you, because he said there is like quite a paradox in the blockchain, and maybe it could relate to Cosmos. we like to speak about Ethereum and its network effect.
Yep.
But the thing with blockchain, the technology is upgradable, and as the time passes, we get the better and better technology. So this brings the question: should we jump from the layer one to layer one as we get better technology? Because also likes of Solana, Avalanche, and others take away from the network effect of Ethereum. Many people actually moving. So this network effect is not as vibrant as some people would claim, because new chains grab this part of network effect, they grow this network effect, and then the better chain comes. So what would be the place if can Cosmos solve this sort of paradox of jumping between the layer ones?
So there's like a really interesting question, right? Which is the network effect at the layer one level, or is the network effect at the end user agent level, right? Like, is what we are doing onboarding billions of people to public key cryptography, open consensus systems, publicly inspectable ledgers, uh, 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 you know, uh, credibly neutral financial instruments, or are what we are is our what we uh, onboarding them onto a specific network, right? Um, I would say that the Cosmos view has like long been that like fundamentally the network effect is most strong around like the is not the strongest is the strongest networking effect is not just Ethereum, but the strongest network effect is the underlying idea of blockchains.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Um, by the way, like, did I hear it from you that you met some Signal folks, the people who work on the Signal app?
Yep.
Or
Back in the
is
day.
the so sorry for jumping from it. Can even blockchain be useful in the social media apps like the Signal? Because it was like one of the biggest value grab in the past 10 years, right, with the social media. But seems blockchain completely failed in this area. Could the app like the Signal or something utilize blockchain and maybe even make payments via this kind of anonymous app?
Yeah, so I mean, Signal has integrated into it like mobile coin based,
Mm-hmm.
like the mobile coin token as a payment rail. Um, the um, the the so absolutely these things are somewhat relevant. You are seeing you're going to see like a bunch of next generation privacy based payment rails showing up in like the Cosmos ecosystem. You have Anoma, Penumbra, you have Zcaches, moved Cosmos. You have MobileCoin, all of which are like at scale payment systems that could really unlock a lot of value on top of this. I think the other interesting layer is like what people are trying to do with like Lens protocol, right? Like you don't uh, uh, the uh, um, the Lens protocol from the Aave folks. We're like it's not so much about having every post that you make on a blockchain, right? It's about but potentially having some form of identity. You also have this thing kind of organically emerging where you're developing like your wallet where you people have like public wallet addresses. Like you can think of like Occlusion having a public wallet address that we use for a validator. We try to use the same underlying multi-sig across all the different Cosmos chains that we validate on. I have, a lot of us have .ens addresses that like zmanian.eth, or various other name service addresses, right? Where you have a public key, it has NFTs on it, and so it is organically becoming a kind of like social network on blockchains. Is definitely a thing that is sort of organically and naturally emerging, even if somebody doesn't go out and set up a product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like the issue, because you said like not every single post needs to be the blockchain transaction. There is this social app being developed on Juno network, Howl Social. I'm not sure if you heard of this. And it's essentially copy of the Twitter. The issue is every single post is blockchain transaction, which is horrible user experience, to be honest. I mean, you can do it on the back end to the fees to be paid, but I think it needs to be solved, because I can't really still I struggle to imagine that. Um the the tokenomics, I'm in the like big minority, because I don't think the tokenomics of the Cosmos is faulty. And before we jump on the interview, I tried to rewatch the Crypto Cito video. The Cosmos Hub is the like has this like really big inflation, and
Yep.
everyone wants the token to pump. And I've been coming with this thinking, is lack of inflation really really good? Because if you restrict the inflation, you essentially concentrate the power with the early adopters and incentivize holding the token instead of actually using that. And you can correct me if my thinking is wrong, but this kind of inflation of Cosmos let everyone participate in the Cosmos economy. So I'm still not sure that reducing the inflation, maybe even making the hub token deflationary, would be good idea. And I wonder, like, what are your thoughts about this? Like, why you
So
call it even fixed in tokenomics?
yep. So the best way to understand this is that the current state of Atom tokenomics is impairing the growth of DeFi on Cosmos, right? Because right now you have this. So right now there's like this trade-off, right? Where like Atom is out there in DeFi. It's in the Atom Osmo pool. It's providing on ramps. It's going to be the collateral token of Inter. But that isn't that those atoms are not staked, right? The atoms that are in the Atom Osmo pool are not staked. The atoms that are going to be in IST vaults are not staked. So now you have this, because as use of atoms pulls atoms away from the hub and pulls them out of staking, the atoms the inflation of atom is actually going up, which then makes those atoms that are out in DeFi kind of worth less, right? And this basically creates this like instability in like the long run DeFi economy of Cosmos, right? And like what? But this is also Atom has really good network effects, right? It has like lots of different exchanges that support it. It's like it's pretty clean from a regulatory point of view. It's a great asset. Like the history of how it was built. The way that like it was not really marketed, so that like the only people who participate in the fundraiser, the general lack of shilling of Atom that has gone on over the last few years has really allowed people who believe in this project to accumulate it. But like we see the emergence of this DeFi economy on top of Cosmos. Atom is the logical base pair, a logical base asset for the IBC economy. But as long as the inflation is so unpredictable and so high, it is actually going to make it very financially costly and difficult for people to participate in that DeFi economy. So this is like one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is, at the time we didn't really know how to align the incentives between an asset and a multi-token economy at all. Like there were no examples, there were no tools, there was nothing. But now we are starting to see like things like that are functionally like exchange traded fund tokens, right? So like where you have assets that are buying other assets, and we can accumulate other assets into the community pool, and effectively sort of, and like, if those assets go up in value a lot, we can do buybacks of atoms from the appreciation of those assets. So we can actually take atom supply out of the ecosystem, because we are going to need some level of baseline inflation, both to like continue to fund development, continue to fund community projects, like all of these things, right? Like, but like we can have these countervailing forces, right? So there's this enormous opportunity that is ahead with Atom, which is making an amazing asset for baseline an amazing asset for baseline for like the basis of the vastly expanding IBC economy. The but the yeah. So I don't know. I was kind of like, don't have a, and that's really the opportunity here.
I'm
And I've been working with other people. Like, I don't feel like I do a great job of doing justice to these ideas yet. Working with other people to mature these ideas.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and I come actually with the same conclusions about Atom being this great asset for the for the IBC, for the wider Cosmos ecosystem, and with the same conclusion, I think the Cosmos should be actually inflationary instead of like sucking out the value from anything else. And the buybacks, because the inflation of course decrease the token growth, but allow this the also DeFi economy with the inflation to expand and build the liquidity. Because you said something about like, hey, this interchain security allows us to get the other tokens, and with this other coins, and with these other coins to do buyback of the Atom. But doesn't it
Every
create
coin,
the
every atom though that is in the Osmo pool is giving up 9% atom denominated returns right now, right? And
Mhm,
like, is that being offset by Osmo inflation? And will that be continue to be offset by osmosis inflation forever? No, because like osmosis, like inflation is also going to go down, right?
mhm,
I don't think you're correct.
mhm.
I think
I love being wrong.
that opportunity cost of is like impairing the growth of osmosis and the growth of TVL of osmosis
Mhm,
by by the like ongoing atom inflation. Now,
mhm,
if we instead were to replace the atom Osmo pool on osmosis with an atom liquid staked, like a liquid staked atom Osmo pool, now that pool could be 5x, 100x bigger, 5, 10, 20x bigger than what it was, because people would be not be looking at, hey, what is the opportunity cost of staking my atom?
mhm,
Okay, they would say, "Oh, I've staked my atom. I'm earning my atom yield. Now, what other yield can I go out and get?"
mhm.
Massive
Yeah.
expansion. Like, you take that entire multi-billion-dollar market cap of atom, and you turn that into fuel for the DeFi ecosystem. Where right now it's more like rain putting out the fire of DeFi and Cosmos as it's trying to get started.
So okay, but there is also other side of the coin, which is the pool of other coins that are secured with the interchain security, and we get them and we use them as the buybacks of the atoms. So my question is, what is the value of these other coins? This is worthless coins then, because why would anyone use them? They are used essentially for buybacks, which create this kind of Ponzi, not sorry, not which give them a purpose to pump the Atom token value, which takes
So,
away from the value of this token itself. How you keep let them to have some actually value.
so interchain staked tokens, the only difference between them and any other native token, they're somewhat similar to ERC20s on top of Ethereum,
Hmm.
right? They're not the L1 token,
Hmm.
but they can entitle you to governance rights. They can entitle you to rev share from the project.
Mm-hmm.
They can what we're trying to build with Interchain Security is a robust network of applications that serve many different purposes, and we expect, as we have seen, what we see, in the blockchain world is there are many
Mm-hmm.
experiments with adding tokens to projects. 99% of them are worthless, but 1% of them, approximately, potentially are very valuable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we expect to see that with interchain staking, right? And so, yes, we're going to get lots of these tokens into the atom, and like 99% of them will be eventually worthless. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but we expect some of them to be immensely valuable next generation applications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good answer. Like, because I was indeed concerned that, hey, most of them will be worthless as the layer through. Someone asked the question, so I will throw it here. I don't know what's the relevance. I talked with Abdel, who made EIP 1559. He told me Cosmos don't scale because this is hidden monolith structure, separate monolithic blockchain. So do we need L2s, L3s, and L4s? I don't actually understand this
Okay,
question.
so I hate that. I think we need to move away from the world of L3s, L4s, L2s,
Hmm.
L3s, L4s. None of this means anything. What we have is we have blockchains and we have bridges. Um, and a blockchain consists of consensus, so ordering, data availability, and execution, right? So the monolithic way of building blockchains, which is what all the Cosmos chains today are, is ordering, execution, and data availability are part of, or like consensus, data availability, and execution are one unified system, right? Now, those pieces are modular in the sense that you can replace the Cosmos SDK with another ABCI app. You can and then we make those systems interoperable. So chains and bridges, right? And basically, you can think of cryptocurrency exchange also as just like a kind of bridge. So they're chains, they're bridges, there is ordering, data availability, and execution. So right now, in most Cosmos chains, ordering and data availability are provided by Tendermint and the validators, and you have an honest majority assumption. Um, and execution is provided by the Cosmos SDK, which is checked by all the full nodes, right? That's the way the system works. When you say that Cosmos cannot scale, what we're saying, one, there is organic demand for sovereign chains, right? Like people are organically want sovereign chains. It's not like we're going to people and being like, you don't want a sovereign chain. No, you must have a sovereign chain because uh uh uh, uh because like that's the only way to scale. You must take on the burden of sovereign. There are a set of users who want that, and there are a set of who are experiencing this, like who actually don't want the sovereign chain, but like I feel like they're compelled to because of the system requirements. And then you have the other side of the system, which is the the you have the other side of the system, which is the you have the other side of the system, which is people who organically want. I would say majority of Cosmos chains are kind of in this camp. They organically want to try and build their own sovereign community, and we're not serving those people who don't want to build their own sovereign community very well today. So how do we scale to do that? So now we have this solution, Interchain Security, that's coming out this year, and it is a piece of the solution. It is a piece of the solution. It allows you to run multiple Tendermint blockchains that have the same validator set, where the slashing is against the one common token, so you get common economic security. Now, what's annoying about this, and like why we're excited about the modular architecture, why we're excited about Celestia, all of these things, is because in that model, still, you have the overhead of every validator has to run nodes validating every transaction. You are running many parallel ordering and data availability processes that are individually not that each they're on their individual scale, like not that scalable. And it's difficult to optimize all these things because like in Tendermint, if you want to make like it monolithic to improve execution, right? You have to like launch a new chain. If and it is monolithic, and we basically can't improve data availability or consensus with that because they're like deeply interwoven with each other in Tendermint. So this is what takes us to Celestia, right? Celestia is the supertanker vision. It's the original, in many ways, the original Cosmos vision. But why are we doing interchain security if like Celestia is making such amazing progress? The reality of Celestia is making amazing progress on this data availability and ordering layer. But the execution and one of the consequences also of the modular architecture, which I can like loop back to, it's sort of not a natural segue, is you have these things called settlement layers and execution layers. Because like you've all kind of decoupled the functionality of execution into these two pieces. I can explain why. But you decouple them into these two pieces. And the problem we find with Celestia is, in the L2 space, the bridges, the execution layers, the settlement layers there are much less mature than what we have today in Cosmos. And so while I'm incredibly bullish on Celestia, love Celestia, work on it all the time. We have this insane challenge of trying to get the software tool pieces in place so that people can innovate at this settlement and execution layer. And for Atom, what we really want to do is we want to grow the IBC ecosystem. We want to add functionality to Atom. We want to make Atom a development platform. We want to build some network effects on top of Atom. The only way we're going to do that is with interchain security in the short run. And then, we are able to look at where Atom fits into that longer term horizon picture of settlement and execution layers as those systems mature.
Mm-hmm. Let's go with the Prop 69. I think you were the biggest pusher for having.
I wasn't pushing that hard. I'm pushing a lot harder on 72 than I ever was on 69.
Yeah, but nothing wrong like asking about this because I want to go to 72, right? And I didn't know, for me, like Cosmos contracts is like this, yeah, like it would enable on the hub Cosmos contracts. I don't know what's the consequences of that move for the hub regarding security or so. The Jaquan went on the tweeting spree then, and I voted no because he promised me the airdrop, and because I don't know anything. So I wonder, like, what would be the con of having Cosmos contract on the hub? Was there really anything? Could you tell for someone like me who is like stupid enough and voting basing on the fact that someone promised them airdrop or not?
I don't. So what I would say, what I honestly think is the strongest argument against Prop 69, which I feel was like ZK Validators, who's an even bigger Atom, their team is an even bigger Atom holder than I am. So, I respect their view and like have been hodling since Genesis. I respect their view. And their view is basically like, hey, like let's not build like 7 different developer stories for Atom. We have limited resources, we have limited bandwidth. Like if we're gonna say interchain security, building consumer chains is the way you develop on top of Atom, we should just be all in on that. And honestly, I think that argument is compelling. I would say that like when we sort of started the plan, people don't realize, right? They think like, oh, you put up these proposals and like you had the idea the day before. No, it's like Prop 72, for Prop 69, Prop 72, those conversations go back 6-7 months, right? On all of this stuff, right? I'm working with these people. We work on these plans for months, uh, lining up partners, understanding it, trying to figure out what to do over very long periods of time to make these governance proposals. Um, and so when we started the Prop 69 effort, it wasn't really clear how far away interchain security is. It wasn't in it, and we surfaced this need for this entirely another technology called interchain queries, which didn't exist before. And we were like, hey, how can we build? What can we do on top of interchain? What can we do on top of interchain queries? Um, uh, uh, like, oh, we need this in order to do liquid staking over and like Quicksilver was like, a glint in the eye, right? Like it was like, oh, like chorus one is like something is happening, right? Like, and then like over the course of all that process was going on while we were discussing Prop 69, aligning people around it, deciding to do the governance proposal. Quicksilver, went out, raised money, built a team, made a lot of progress on interchain queries. The Simply VC team also contributed on interchain queries. There were other teams that showed up. Like a huge amount of effort went into like making interchain queries a thing. And so that was a huge piece, right? That was a huge piece. And the question has really been, okay, can we do that? So that we decided to go forward with Prop 69. Honestly, if these are just they're like parallel ships moving, right? A lot of the people who were working on interchain security were kind of raising red flags. They were like, hey, do we really want to do Prop 69? Like, interchain security, interchain queries are really coming along well. Like just and like honestly, maybe but again, there's no CEO of Cosmos, right? There's no CEO of Cosmos push big red button and say, let's not do this. And so it's hard, right? It's hard to coordinate all these people. And it's like, okay, I don't want to like rug pull your initiative because like someone else's initiative. So we put the initiative out, we put Prop 69 out there. It was defeated. I think some of the arguments about it were legitimate and credible. And interchain security is coming along really nicely. And we have Prop 72, which if Prop 72 passes, we will have accomplished everything that we were trying to accomplish in Prop 69, and we'll be doing it in a better, more long-term aligned way. But one of the things that I was, if you kind of go back to my original question about scaling and interchain security and roll-up architecture and modular architecture, is in order to stay relevant, Atom is going to have to evolve, right? It is going to have to evolve. Like the technical realities of how you build blockchains are going to continuously change. Atom is going to have to evolve to keep up. If it can't evolve, it's not going to, it is not going to be the asset that we want it to be.
That's the thing I was saying about this paradox that we have, that blockchains, good chains, needs to be upgradable in order to survive. I totally agree with that, right? No one uses the first iPhone anymore.
Correct.
And and I think that's the reason, and that's the reason with blockchain. There is some argument that the way how Bitcoin is designed is good, but I'm still like not completely sure because I don't really know the future. But for sure, for smart contract platforms, that's absolutely critical to be upgradable. In relation to that, we get the Prop 72, and there is a lot of discussion. And maybe I will throw my own opinion. So we have Juno Network, which it's the first smart contract platform that utilizes the WASP contracts, as I know. And Jack is part of the core one, multi-sig, with the smallest share. It did seem to me that there was some disagreements about permissionless nature and what it means for chain to be permissionless. Maybe people fighting for actually their own agenda. So it would almost seem to me and to some people that Prop 72 is the challenge, that right. So and bring in the neutron, which is sort of competition to other Cosmos smart contract platforms. And so I want to ask you, what is the benefit of diluting into more platforms that may be trying to do the same? Is it to actually give a more choice? Is it because it seems that the one chain and its agenda cannot serve everyone, because some people are discriminated for by maybe community, right? So
But like
the
that's the
governance.
entire Cosmos thesis, right? The
Mhm,
entire Cosmos thesis is that you should like that we should not be coupling software, the software you run, to a specific community where you have to be essentially like a serf on someone on whoever the like major stakeholders of the existing
mhm,
thing are. And so some applications may feel that they are more Atom aligned, um,
mhm,
that they are more aligned with Atom, they are more aligned with Cosmos ecosystem, they're more aligned with existing Atom stakeholders, and they may choose to deploy on Neutron. And some applications may be more aligned with Juno, maybe more aligned with the Juno stakeholders. Like we see lots of teams that have become very aligned with Juno after the sort of Terra explosion, right? I'm not trying
mhm,
to go in. We're not trying to go in and steal them. We're not trying to tell them that they shouldn't be on Juno. If Juno is where they want to be and Juno is a path for
mhm,
success for them, they should be on Juno. They should build amazing applications on Juno. I hold Juno. Okay, like I think that's great. Um, but we believe that there is a place in the market for DeFi applications that want to be aligned with Atom, the Atom ecosystem, the Atom TVL, and this idea, this FUD that comes from the Juno community that this is somehow competitive. No, you are your own thing. You have your own history. You have your own dramas. You have your own
mhm,
melodramas. You have your own developer culture. Like, I mean, when I was in Prague and Gateway, I saw this whole amazing room full of people hacking on Juno. Um,
mhm,
maybe there will be a whole amazing room of people hacking on Neutron. Maybe there will be a room of people who half of them are hacking on Juno, half of them are hacking on Neutron. I don't know what the future holds.
mhm,
But Cosmos is not about limiting choice. And this sort of political agenda that I hear coming from SG1 and some members of Core One on Juno that is against Neutron is just it's really antithetical to the values of Cosmos.
mhm. But there is this other argument that developer mindshare burnout is real. That essentially creating new and new platforms. I guess what this sort of saying means, there is not many Cosmos developers, and you, by building so many platforms, there's like actually no devs to develop, and it could create this kind of ghost chains, maybe. No.
I mean, there's a risk, but again, it's kind of interesting, right? It's like if you have if you're a sovereign chain, right? You are in this like existential crisis where you must not be a ghost chain, otherwise your security will collapse, right? Like you can easily or like you can become top heavy from a single application, and your security model can collapse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're an interchain secured zone and you're building an application, uh, uh, you know, if you are building on top of Juno, you're making a bet that like
Mm-hmm.
people are willing to hold Juno, people are willing to buy Juno, people are willing to speculate on Juno, people are willing to be part of the DAO, and that's going to continue to grow, and that's going to grow at pace with your application.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, your application security is at risk. This
Mm-hmm.
is why maybe for some applications people want to deploy on Neutron. They're like, hey, I see Neutron. It's secured by the Atom validator set. Atom has a lot of use cases. It has a deeper history. It has all of these other properties that Juno doesn't. I would rather not sort of ask my question as an application developer, take the risk. Will Juno succeed? I can deploy a Neutron. I can know that the Atom validators will take care of the the neutrality of my application for the foreseeable future, and that will appeal to someone. And every time you give, I don't believe that giving people new places to deploy EVM apps, like all we have seen in the last, you know, really 5 years, right, is the more places you give people to deploy a smart contract, The more it grows the total developer base, because it removes platform risk, right? If
Mm-hmm.
if I bet on the EVM, I have 30 platforms that I could choose from to deploy my app. So I'm like, oh, Avalanche, something went wrong. I can deploy in BSC. BSC sucks for a variety of reasons. I'll go deploy in Arbitrum. Like, you have this flexibility as an application developer, and that's great. Why not
Mm-hmm.
give that flexibility to Cosmosm developers and say, hey, you can deploy on Juno, but if something goes wrong with Juno, all the validators get sued and have to shut down because of Prop 16. I can go deploy my app somewhere else, right?
I'm still asking question and I cannot get the answer. You have I messaged the so in your team you have this lawyer in sommelier. There is the one lady. She's a lawyer, right? What's her name?
Rebecca,
Uh, I think Rebecca. I sent her email because I
Rebecca
was
from
digging
Saga.
some. I think it's
She's
Rebecca.
CEO of
So
Saga now. Yeah, yeah.
so I messaged her because like I don't know anything about law and I'm still trying to learn what could be consequences of seizing someone
No
asset
one knows, man.
regardless this regardless, right? And when I ask this question, like some people really hates it. They're like, doesn't matter, decentralized distribution, no one care. I
And
mean, I don't know.
I'm not trying to FUD Juno. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think that Juno is going to get sued, or like Juno validators are going to get sued, because it would be like a real waste of time and money, right? I don't actually
Hmm.
think this is going to happen, right? Like, like the whole point of blockchains is like what the reason why we've built these decentralized systems is because they're not lawsuit proof, but they are a
Hmm.
pain in the ass to sue, and like what you can do by suing them is like a little unclear, right? Um, and so there are like these legally minimalist environments. I'm not trying to FUD Juno by saying, oh, they're all going to get sued or whatever. I was just like, black swan events happen, right, all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
The entire Core One team is like hanging out on a ball, like a mountain, and a volcano explodes. I don't know. They
Yeah.
picked the wrong island in Indonesia to have their Juno hits $100 party, and next thing you know, like, oh, the core dev team's gone, right? Um,
Yeah.
the like black swan events happen, are part of life. Um,
Hmm.
and so, if you are like having multiple places where you can deploy your app, gives the system fault tolerance, right? It gives
Hmm.
the system, hey, it will increase the number of people who want to bet on the platform.
With that, what should be the definition of permissionless chain? Because I saw that definition, the chain is permissionless, which would mean for you are allowed to build
So
and
we have these two forms of CosmWasm.
mhm,
So if you actually remember this, okay, I don't remember the proposition number. I have to look it up.
mhm,
Like there's a proposition. I helped spearhead to get some CosmWasm some funding. There was this period of time when the ICF wouldn't fund CosmWasm. They were running out of money. I spearhead a community spend proposal to get them some atoms to build. And one of the features that we asked for in that governance proposal as atom holders was, hey, can you build governance gated smart contracts? Can you make it so that you have to pass a governance proposal to add a new CosmWasm smart contract, new CosmWasm application? So they built
mhm,
that for us. And now you see two forms of CosmWasm in the wild. You see what Juno is doing, which is permissionless CosmWasm, which is anyone can upload a contract and it immediately runs on the chain. And then you have like what Osmosis is doing, where you're like, no, the DAO must vote to to
mhm.
to to um to activate any smart contracts that are uploaded to the chain. So you have these two forms. And the proposal from the Neutron team at P2P is that we actually deploy the permissionless form.
Yeah, and
And
here's the
what we
question.
proposed in Prop 69 was the permissioned form of
Mhm,
Cosmos, similar to what Osmosis has done on the hub. We argued for that because, hey, we want to decrease the security risk. The idea of interchain security is because props the Neutron will be isolated on separate blockchains, secured by interchain security. If something goes wrong in Neutron, the blockchain halts. It doesn't affect the core Cosmos.
yeah. So yeah, like with the permissionless nature of some chains, they are like free to deploy, but you can be taken away with the governance later, right? If people don't like you, they can eliminate you. And I wonder, is it also possible with Neutron, or the governance of such things will be rather minimal, considering that it will use the um, Cosmos security? Like, is it
Mhm.
making this governance power smaller than in the case of fully independent chain? Because that's difficult, right? You have proof of work which where you avoid this sort of power of people, and you have proof of stake chains where you have power, which kind of
Okay,
make
so
make
I want to like one thing we want to clarify, right? Is just because your chain is proof of stake does not mean that you implicitly have governance on chain governance, right?
Mhm,
But regardless of what chain you're on, whether you're proof of work, proof of stake where you have like these sort of on-chain DAOs that Cosmos has, um, or like Polkadot also has this. Well, regardless of what model you've chosen, running consensus nodes is a form of governance power. But running full nodes is also a form of governance power, because if you make changes to the validity to the to the execution rules of a block, you have to bring the full node people along. Otherwise, the full node people will be like, "Hey, I don't believe this chain," right? Like, I don't
mhm,
want. I'm not running a node. So you have to convince the economic majority of, really the economic super majority of your, of your full node users. So governance has many layers. But one of the things that we have in Cosmos, right, is we have software functions that are automated through governance. Because otherwise, you end up in this like, so for instance, if you have a bridge, i.e., IBC, if you have a state transfer bridge, and you need that state for transfer bridge to be upgradable, to recover from failures, to all this stuff, someone has to be able to vote. So it's like, who votes? Like, do you nominate like one fixed multi-sig for every
mhm,
single chain, that like for every single IBC channel? Like, that sounds like a pain in the ass. So what some people are proposed, right? It's kind of how Nomad works. And so in Cosmos, we just took this approach where like our default settings are, you have these decisions that need to be made, parameters, what child chains to run, etc. We just turn that over to token hold governance. Is it ideal? I don't think, probably not. Designing governance systems is really hard.
mhm,
But it like, honestly, like, probably Cosmos governance has done like, has made like more like, people running the Cosmos governance models have made unprecedented high consequence decisions,
mhm,
on blockchains, and they've done it successfully without the network forking, which is honestly a virtue of the current system. And so
mhm.
it is. It's not. It all sucks. Like, honestly, like, we're like, every one of these proposals is a pain in the ass. Uh, you got to do, endless live streams to like convince people and talk about the proposal and all this stuff. Like, maybe it would be nice if there's just a committee that like ran these things. But on the other hand, and the um, yeah. So that's kind of the thing.
Mhm. Let's go to P2P, and what they trying to develop. So um was Cosmos one of the first, or maybe the first proof of chain uh out there in the ecosystem? Like,
It
Cosmos
was the
was one
first
of the first.
BFT proof of stake exchange. It was the
So
yeah. It was the
so
first
P
chain that was not using the longest chain rule. And is by far the most like robust, formally verified,
mhm.
proof of stake system out there. Yeah, absolutely.
So I would expect the fact that the Cosmos was first one, the P2P was there, that they saw the huge potential of Cosmos, and they would actually choose to work as much as possible within that ecosystem. But then appeared the other proof of stake chains like Solana and a few others, and the P2P seems to be more focused on this other chains. They brought Lido to these other chains, and I never seen them really active within the Cosmos ecosystem. And I wonder why this huge lack of engagement, despite them being so early on involved, and why now, and what are their like maybe benefits for them to even now start building on Cosmos.
I mean, why did they lack? Why the lack of engagement? Because there was nothing. You know, people engage in Cosmos because they want to build something.
Hmm.
You know, the all the validators that you see have been engaged over the last period of time. They're all building something. You know,
Hmm.
SG1 ended up building Juno, and like that was what was motivating their agenda. And you know, for P2P, I mean, I can't speak to them, but I know them very well. I'm not speaking for them. I'm observing
Hmm.
as an outsider their behavior, which is they tried to build stuff on top of Cosmos. They tried to build a gaming
Hmm.
chain. They tried to build some early NFT work on top of Cosmos, and IBC wasn't ready for them. And then you know, frankly, for 2021 or for 2021, they really focused on Lido. Lido took up, you know, all the oxygen in the room, right? Lido incredibly,
Hmm.
people just like don't appreciate how hard it was to build Lido and have Lido launch right when the beacon chain launched. And like to nail that timing, to nail the product market fit, to bring billions of dollars of TVL under management, like hugely complicated. It's just hugely complicated. And like, oh, I mean, like, I don't know how anyone else who could have executed the way Vasily and Constantine executed this. Like, unbelievable. And like,
Hmm.
you know, they had a lot of support from other early Cosmos validators. Um, and so they've just kind of been like, many people in the Cosmos community, their memories are very short. They're new to the community. They showed up, you know, post osmosis, post IBC. They're like, who are all these people? And we're like, we've been here building for 5 years. Like, hello, a lot. I mean, like, amazing, a huge number of people in Cosmos are like, who is Zaki? I'm like, I launched this goddamn thing.
Yeah. I
um, you know,
I
you
mean,
know
it's good
the
thing, right?
Sure,
it,
sure.
it
It is a good thing, but you know, people who are new should learn. They need to learn the history. You know, we do have a history of Cosmos, like document that. Like honestly, it's really hard to learn. You have to watch
Mhm.
like infinite videos. But there we have this history of Cosmos, like document that's being written. Hopefully, it'll come out like in the next week or so. Um, it's nice. It'll help a lot of the new people. But yeah, I mean, Cosmos incredibly hard to understand, very decentralized, extremely. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
What's really important, like, because many people see that, still say, hey, Cosmos is more centralized maybe than some other chains. But for me, what's also decentralization is also decentralization on the ideology aspect, because it doesn't matter if you decentralize the holders and the validators if the ideology is pretty much like one-sided, right, or
yep.
influenced by the leader, which is seen on some other chains. My belief it's seen on Juno, right? It's
Yep.
fairly decentralized, but its mind share is like, we believe on the one thing, which is negative. Well, like, Cosmos doesn't struggle with that. Like, it has many different opinions and many different like um agendas, which I think makes the Cosmos essentially way more decentralized than the chain like Juno. Were you involved in Lido in any form, or some people
Yeah.
say that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I've been involved in the Lido conversation
yeah.
since the beginning. Not
and
super
and was
involved,
so
but like I hold Lido.
yeah,
It's not a
and
secret.
yeah, and Kobe was as well, right? The
Yeah,
Kobe,
Kobe
the
was as
the
well.
influencer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They left, all of them. Like, I mean, Kobe, I guess, left, or
I mean, what
something.
does it mean to? I don't. I think
He said that, like, he left. I
I think
don't.
Cody said he left and he sold his Lido. I don't. I'm not sure. Like, what does it mean to
Yeah,
leave it?
yeah, yeah. I I understand.
You quote. You know, you
Like,
exit. I don't. You exit the Telegram. Like, is that leaving? I'm still in
yeah,
the
like,
Telegram. So in that
yeah.
sense, I have left. I probably have like 1,000 unreads, but you know.
Hmm. So how would Cosmos benefit with having Light on the hub?
Okay.
Because like some people, like there was
Okay.
the
So don't.
staked
Okay. So
ether, cause there was some fear about staked ether recently, that
yes.
it's
Okay. So I told Ethereum Foundation 2019. I was like, do not launch the beacon chain without delegation, without some mechanism to do delegation and some mechanism to do liquid staking built in. Like someone will step in, either a centralized exchange. I mean, and like honestly, Ethereum was in a situation where it was either going to be a centralized exchange or Lido, right? It
Mhm,
wasn't going to be like a network of 100,000 home stakers, as much as the ETH
mhm,
people want to believe this. It's not actually what the world was going to look like. It was either going to be a centralized exchange or Lido that was
mhm,
uh, uh, that was dominant. So that like one thing, and like one of the things that they did is was by like somewhat intentionally making it as hard as possible to build a Lido.
mhm,
They raised the barrier of entry so much that like Lido, like the hyper competence of the P2P team was able to get over this barrier, but no one else could, right? Uh, the hyper competence of the P2P team, which was demonstrated across Game of Stakes, Game of Zones, the launch of Polkadot, the launch of Near, like all these places, Solana, P2P was just crushing it, right? Huge, enormous expertise in how the validator business works. And they were able to get over this enormous barrier to entry that the Ethereum Foundation had created and create Lido. Okay. Which actually, I think, in many ways is on one hand, you can see it's a threat. On the other hand, it's like a success, but it has flaws, right? Everybody at Lido knows that it has flaws. This whitelist of validators is flawed. So at Cosmos, we have the opportunity to do this right. So two things, or many things, right? One, we are not saying let's bring Lido as the primary staking solution to the Cosmos Hub. We are saying Lido, Quicksilver, Persistence One, P-Stake, all of this. These are all solutions, and we want to create a world in which every solution can launch on top of Atoms. We want to make it as easy as possible to write software that does this, which is why the Occlusion Liquid Staking module. So rather than having to cobble something out of ETH smart contracts or interchain accounts, interchain queries, like you have this natively supported set of primitives that make it easy for anyone to build a liquid staking solution, so anyone can come and then let the market decide. Like ultimately, it's up to the market. It's not up to Atom holders. It's not up to Cosmos Hub governance. It's not up to Zaki. What is the successful liquid staking protocol for Atom and for the Cosmos ecosystem? The success, and can there be more than one? I think there can be more than one. I think there are going to be different ones with different preferences. You see this like the most credible competition to Lido on Ethereum right now is Alluvial, which is sort of a
mhm.
KYC institutional investor friendly liquid staking protocol, right? So I do think that is going to be is the right way path forward.
Mhm. Some people were saying, actually, like, I'm not too concerned about this, that the community pool on Cosmos is rather small, and I don't want to focus on the spending of 150,000 atoms, because I don't think it's very big amount. Um, but what is small amount is community pool. Do you think maybe increasing the community pool with the higher tax rate, and maybe even increasing inflation and the tax rate, we could create this massive community pool where we could
But
develop
okay,
in
so
the
here,
future?
why my master plan is let's get liquid staking done. Let's get interchain security
Hmm.
done. Now, if we can get adoption of liquid staking, we can lower the amount of like right now if we increase the problem is that like basically if we increase the tax rate on Atom, it's gonna and like the economic equilibrium is it's like functionally the same thing as increasing Atom inflation, because
Hmm.
the amount of staked Atom will go down and then like inflation will go up, and it's like roughly the same thing. Um, uh, 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 the uh, the uh, the mechanism that is driving. So, I believe that we should have a much larger community pool. I believe that we should be spending much more Atom on development. That we cannot rely on the ICF budget for this forever. And like the reality is while many people expect, when we did the original Atom allocations, a lot of the vision is that the all-in bits tendermint budget would contribute a lot more to the Cosmos Hub. It's not really going to be the case, right? So we have a hole in the Atom allocation, right? But rather than just debase all of the existing Atom holders by a lot to fill this hole, we're actually like pretty close. You know, we've cobbled together the pieces to say, hey, like we can actually redirect a lot of the inflation away from security through the adoption of liquid staking. We can have this development platform, and then we can fund that development platform. And so rather than having a huge Atom inflationary event where we kind of like take like essentially one, more than like 2 years worth of inflation, for instance, and like drop it in the community pool, we can say, hey, like we can start growing that community pool over 2 years and credibly promise to Atom holders that yes, you're experiencing inflation now, but the economic growth that we will fund with that inflation will actually result in your Atoms being a more stable, a better store of value in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's one question to the previous thing. With that said, would you then accept that forcing Light onto its own chain rather than the hub creates a fairer platform for competition?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Lido should be on the hub.
Mm-hmm. I think we covered the Prop 72. And
Yeah.
there is one more thing that you helped to bring to Cosmos with your early story. Like, so we know why Agoric decided to use the use Cosmos and go over to Cosmos, right? And this one of the biggest thing that I think Agoric is going to bring, Run initially, which was changed into IST, I believe,
Yes.
and it's stablecoin.
Correct.
And I'm trying to understand how is this a good thing. So, which is because the idea is to collateralize this stable coin with the crypto assets from the hub, mainly with the Atom token. The Atom right now, it's even below $3 billion value, which is nothing, and any speculator could wipe this out. And it seems similar what Kava trying to do. So you collateralize the token dropping, you getting liquidated, right? So how you create the good stable coin that is tied
So,
to Federal Reserve money backed with the
okay.
crypto tokens?
What I'm trying to say is, okay, so things that are important to understand about these kinds of systems. One is everything about a maker, like a maker style stablecoin. Its stability does not come from the stability of the underlying asset. It comes from the question of whether or not you can liquidate the asset and retire debt efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so one thing that has been really good about Ethereum, right, is that like Ethereum has built a very efficient liquidation ecosystem. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have these MEV hunters that are out there hunting for liquidations. As liquidations happen, you have very efficient arbitrage via flash loans and other forms of capital. It's like liquidations have now become like incredibly routine. And as you see during this massive drawdown, like this liquidity crisis, the DeFi liquidation environment is just like coming along on Ethereum. It's beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the um, the things like the things like the what I would say is so things like things like DYDX, all of these things are going to rely on us building efficient liquidation mechanisms over IBC. The reason Kava didn't work is not because they picked the wrong asset, right? Um, though you should not have a coin that like a stable coin that is collateralized with its own its own L1 token chain. You need to really find like a very like liquid price discoverable asset to it. Again, it's not about the market cap of Atom. It's about the number of venues in which it trades. It's about how liquid it is on a given day. The mechanism that matters to all of this, the reason all of this matters is because when you have building liquidation mechanisms for these things are building liquidation mechanisms that work in asynchronous multi-chain environments really, really hard. We have, and this is going to require innovation across the entire Cosmos stack, right? It requires innovation at the smart contract layer. It requires innovation at the MEV layer. It requires innovation at the IBC layer. We just saw, the Juno Skip.money partnership announcement yesterday. I've been working with that team, with the Mechatech team on sort of bringing MEV sophistication to Cosmos, because that's going to be incredibly necessary for us to get robust liquidations. We think about the liquidation mechanism for Agoric a lot. We have kind of a V1 IST liquidation mechanism that I think is going to perform well, but we have designs for a V2 one that we can get out after that. And so ultimately all of this stuff comes down to, and so why does Kava not maintain its peg? Has nothing to do with the concept of crypto asset-backed stablecoins. It has everything to do with, the stability of the the effectiveness of the liquidation mechanisms. Designing liquidation mechanisms on top of Tendermint and Cosmos SDK is a novel thing. We've seen many mistakes. The Anchor protocol liquidation mechanism on Terra had a lot of issues. You've seen, there were a bunch of tweets about like $90 million in assets kind of getting destroyed and getting lost or hacked or whatever in that process, exploited. I don't know. So like designing robust liquidation mechanisms, not easy. We're working really hard on it for Inter. This is like really key to the success of the whole paradigm.
So, with that, the safest stablecoin is USDC, right? You can peg it easily $1 to $1. So you can squeeze the most out of this. Of course, you can't do it with the crypto-backed stablecoin. And also with that, you said the effective liquidation mechanism, which should everyone be aware that there will be a lot of liquidations for those who use their tokens to collateralize that stablecoin. And considering the small size of the ecosystem, that also bring the eyes to the speculators who will just want to liquidate. So with that, how you incentivize the user to actually collateralize to use their tokens in order to, I guess, mint the stablecoin with such an enormous risks of being liquidated?
Wait, hold on? Did I lose you? Why would they take enormous risks of being liquidated?
Yeah,
that's the other piece that so in a world, so if you take a maker style stablecoin, in a world where people are long crypto, right, where crypto is going up, everything's up only mode, okay, people are going to one of the reasons why people will collateralize IST with their Atom is because they're like, I want leverage, right? I want to generate, lock up IST, take my IST, buy more Atom, lock up more Atom, generate more IST, get this sort of cyclical leverage that also injects IST into the market.
Mm-hmm.
When the market is going down or liquidity crisis, people will be buying IST. People will be incentive to either bring Atom over to shore up their vaults. Okay, so also, which will help support the price of Atom because it's taking Atom off the market. And people will be incentivized to take USDC, which we are working very closely with the USDC team, with the DYDX team, to bring native USDC to Cosmos. We're going to bring native USDC to Cosmos. We're going to inject. We're going to get. So you're going to have native USDC in Cosmos. You're going to be able to exchange native USDC one for one for IST, and you can use that to arb and basically buy discounted atoms, right? Buying
Hmm.
discounted atoms during liquidations, right? And so you're constantly, so like you are going to be in this like seesaw of sometimes it's going to be atoms backing it and other crypto assets. Sometimes it's going to be USDC backing it. It's going to constantly seesaw back and forth, and there'll be incentives that, but like ultimately what that seesaw produces is a stable entity, a stable token, and then, you know,
Hmm.
the more sources of collateral you can support on both sides, the better off you'll be.
Hmm. I guess this was the part I wasn't understanding about DAI, that in the liquidity crisis you just get more stable coin back in it, and this
Yeah, so
balance
like
the.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Chris Beck is like having some sort of like existential crisis in the Maker forum, over
Hmm.
like the fact that like DAI is like 80% backed by USDC right now, and
Yeah.
depending on how deep the liquidity crisis goes, it might be, you know, it may be 90% backed by USDC. That's actually that's the architecture of these systems. Like
Hmm.
you cannot have a stable collateral backed stablecoin that does not have the seesaw, um,
Hmm.
between being volatile asset backed in a market that's long, and like sort of dollar stablecoin backed when the market is short. That's the
Hmm.
nature of these things.
Hmm. So let's stick to Agoric. So this is one of the like probably most important product they are bringing, but you know they bring the um uh JavaScript devs to the ecosystem. I wonder, will it only benefit the Agoric, or there is any benefit for the hub from Agoric um coming to the hub soon? Is
I
there?
mean, the so, you know, Agoric would like to see, you know, the Agoric technology stack adopted in many different
Mhm,
places, in many different forms. Um, or like, you know, what I'm part of, Decentralized Cooperation Foundation, is part of our mission, to look
mhm,
at beyond the ETH L1 or the Agoric L1 chain as deployment venues for the Agoric technologies. Um,
mhm,
Agoric is going to make IBC better. But so yeah, I think the biggest thing that like Agoric is short term bringing to the hub is the atom back stablecoin, and like also like lending like, you know, because like the same liquidation mechanisms that we're building for uh Inter can also be used to be building like things like Compound on top. Like Compound is a natural extension of the Maker ideas, right?
mhm,
Like so you like take the Maker
mhm,
ideas, you add like sort of this cost collateral, where you can now borrow the assets that are collateralizing other loans. You have this sort of recursive system, but you need liquidation mechanisms. You know, you know, the robustness of the Maker liquidation mechanism sort of helped inform the design of the Compound liquidation mechanism. So as we get like experience building liquidation mechanisms in the Cosmos stack, it's going to allow us to get
mhm,
success.
mhm. With that, I think sommelier maybe for the next time, as I'm not experienced enough with this. But I want to ask you at the very end, um, in your own words, because it's so difficult to predict the crypto market and especially the long term vision. And I know Cosmos often says it's about the 5 year window. It's not about the next 6 months. If you would have to predict how what will be the most, what will be the biggest opportunity in crypto, what will be the biggest market, maybe most interesting application, if you would have to go a few years forward, are you able to predict? And maybe what people get wrong about Cosmos?
Oh, that's a lot of that's
So
like a whole nother
sorry,
hour, man.
I should break it down. It's like the
um,
prop 70, it's like the prop 72. Everything in the package.
um, that's a big question, right? Um, I think like one of the what I would say is the biggest and most fundamental question right now that I would say that we're in right now is there are two plausible stories about what's going to happen with crypto. One story is that the crypto, the crypto bull market represents sort of the culmination of the everything bubble, that was like created by like geopolitical stability, low cost access to money from the Fed printing lots of money, quantitative easing, all of the stuff. And now the chickens are coming home to roost, and you've got and crypto is in for a long winter, because of the popping of the everything bubble. The flip side of this is the theory that like we are in a a couple of things are happening. One is there were a bunch of business models built on top of cryptocurrency that worked really well in that free money era, especially these like lending based business models, because of this like never ending quest for yield. There was a lot of irresponsible lending practices searching for that yield. We are in a solvency/liquidity crisis across the lending markets, and we are in a massive amount of deleveraging. The flip side of, and so the other side of that is so we have this we're doing this deleveraging, and so the recovery may be pretty quick. The other argument for that is like maybe these lending based products and these yield seeking based products are not the right products for a more chaotic, higher interest rate environment. But there's there are finance products that work in any market, right? And it's not like banking stops working when like interest rates go up. So you would expect people to be able to build products on top of cryptocurrencies for any interest rate environment. And so maybe the recovery will be relatively quick because like the infrastructure basically works. I continue to think that the most exciting area in all of cryptocurrency is MEV. I think ABCI++, like the MEV mitigations, the like figuring out MEV, like how MEV is going to be sort of managed in the Cosmos ecosystem. I think there's a lot more functionality and features that need to be added to Tendermint. I think there's a lot of improvement at like many layers of the software stack. And so, I'm just excited to work on all of these things over the next few years.
Anything beyond the finance side in crypto, because you focused heavily on the financial instruments? Can crypto work in other areas?
I think it can. It absolutely can. But like many people who have been building L1s for many years, like the reason we started building L1s is we like saw this thing that didn't have a name yet. It was called, that we've started calling DeFi, DEXs, lending markets, all of this stuff. And like this access to this like open settlement layer, financial settlement layer that could settle trillions of dollars of value. That was the dream. It's always been the dream. So that's the thing I know the best. It's the thing I think about the most. I'm not against non-financial applications of blockchains. I just don't feel like I get them like deeply. There are some really cool things we can build on top of Cosmos SDK in terms of gaming chains and stuff like that. So exciting to work with people on that.
Okay. Zaki, thank you a lot. That was, I could keep you longer, but I don't want to take all day, and I want to leave something for later, because you contribute to so many different blockchains. We could go on with the Zcash, move into proof of stake. We could talk about sommelier, but I will.
Yeah, I mean, if you try to like, have a podcast that like covers everything I did this week, it would take the whole week, right?
Yeah. Who's better developer, you or Jack?
I'm a better developer than Jack. I think Jack would acknowledge this.
Okay. That's I wanted to ask it from the start. Okay. I guess enjoy your day in Lisboa.
But Jack,
Yeah.
Jack's like, I understand IBC at the protocol level like really well. If like something is broken in IBC, there's no one who can like fix IBC, like get in the nitty gritty of IBC like Jack. It's just amazing.
Well, everyone has its own place in the ecosystem, including me.
Including you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for this. I hope you will not work too hard, or maybe I should say work hard to bring us all value,
Yep.
and enjoy your day. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Bye bye. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, leave your opinions. I hope I could bring you some information uh, about Cosmos. I did learn a few things for sure. So